Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this session. And as usual, the CFO board is hosting several topics of importance, not just for the financial leaders of the country, but also for entire enterprise. With this, I'd like to request the chair of the session, Jayavardhan Semwal, to take over and lead the discussions. Over to you, Jay.
Hey, thank you, Pranjal. Quick sound check. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I hope you all are keeping well and staying safe. And thank you for joining me, Hemant, Rekha, and Sushant for this session. And when I really reflect on the topic, hybrid work paradox, now whether this is a paradox or not, actually it depends. Though the environment topic is mostly relevant across industries, but I believe it has different dynamics in different functions and industries. So what we are attempting to do today is touch upon many aspects associated with this entire, we can call it hybrid work paradox, the entire environment that we are trying to build, taking a great learning from this great pandemic. And we are really wanting to also reflect upon, most of us here in this group are more finance professional, owning CFO kind of hats. How do we prioritize investment? Because in the end, whenever we look at any kind of transformation, that requires certain changes, that requires certain amount of investment, and investment is always limited. We don't have infinite resources. If that would have been the case, maybe these kind of transformation requirement would never be there. So we would touch upon how we look at it from a human capital perspective or a technology or infrastructure. What are the capabilities that will drive this operating model change or paradigm change? And also, as I alluding to earlier, it also depends upon different function. If you really look at this entire hybrid concept, whether we are a technology company to a more a steel manufacturing company, or somebody doing a finance function, whether we're somebody doing a more manufacturing or services kind of a function, it differs, it varies. We would want to touch upon that aspect also. So between me, Hemant, Rekha, and Sushant, we will do that. Me, Rekha, and Hemant would try to share some thoughts and perspective from how do we see it happening within our own day-to-day work, within our own organizations. And then Sushant has put together a very nice, broader perspective of this entire, you can call it operating model change, paradigm shift, or the overall transformation that we are seeing across. If I really look at my own organization, if I really look at what I have been doing for last year and a half, so in my capacity as a senior finance leader in the country for HPE, I also have got multiple hats, and a couple of my hats are being the lead for these many sites that we have got here in India, not only for finance, but for the larger HPE. And what are these sites? In pre-COVID, what these sites were full of people, because in our company, everybody used to work from office. These sites used to drive a whole lot of mechanism of engagement, bringing people together, connecting them, basically bringing that entire company culture to life. And I still remember the date, 13th March 2020, everything turned upside down. A company-wide decision was taken that everybody in our company will work from home. And I think that has been a great revelation. I think March month-end close was our first month-end close for the entire company, which we did 100% virtually. The next month was our quarter-end close that we did 100% virtually, and it gave the company, the revelation company, the confidence that, hey, things can be done remotely. And then as pandemic moved on, we started thinking through how would it look like? How would the world could look like the day when pandemic will be over and will come to more BAU? We were not sure at that point of time when that day will come. It looks like near today, but we still do not know the precise date. And at that point of time, what we did, we asked ourselves as a management team, hey, what do we do? Why don't we reach out to our employees and understand what do they feel? And we did a massive employee survey where we cover the entire 60,000 odd workforce that we have in the company through a simple survey. And we were not surprised. A significant portion of the employees, close to 70%, they felt that they would be equally or more productive working remotely, but they also had this desire to use the physical side. They also And I think this survey was in the early pandemic days. This desire has only increased because pandemic has lasted for almost year and a half now. To come to the collaborative hub, meet with colleagues face to face, network and socialize with others. And that's when the management took a call that, hey, the world looks like in future it won't be 100% office. We don't want to make it 100% remote. Why don't we look at something which is a more a hybrid in nature? And we called that program Edge to Office. Edge means those team members who would continue to work remotely, and Office means those team members who would work from office most of the time. But I think this entire thing will evolve over a period of time. I personally believe that this is still early in the game. We all will go through a learning process. I'm sure Rekha and Hemant also will agree with me and share their perspective. We are still learning through this entire transformation. And as any transformation, the way we look at this entire change, we can look at it from a three broad aspect, right? One is the first and foremost is the people aspect of it. We can call it hybrid workforce, but all our people, all our team members, how can they continue to feel connected and stay connected wherever they work from? I think that is a key paradigm or key objective that we had whenever when we were looking at this program or implementing this program. The another thing we realized that this also require a leadership evolution. It will require a new style of leadership that builds connection in a hybrid work environment. In fact, we are investing hugely into training, reskilling, and upskilling all our people leader on this entire hybrid management concept. I think it will require that mindset change. It will require a little bit of a cultural shift. And the key question would be, how can we continue to drive high performance culture, and how can we continue to give people long-term sustainable enhanced career? I think a couple of people in my team have already approached me. They joined my company when pandemic started. They are still working virtually. They have voiced this concern. It's very difficult to create network working 100% virtually. So I think that aspect of networking, career enhancement need to be considered. The other important aspect is the process, and process can include operations. There would be interlocks, there would be dependencies, and there are, which we are looking at. One simple example is our HR processes. So we have relooked at our entire HR processes, whether it relates to employee engagement, employee productivity, career development, promotion of an inclusive and diverse culture, and most importantly, pandemic being a big learning, the well-being of our employees. How do we look at those processes in this new setup? The last aspect of any transformation is infrastructure. I think there are two key parts of infrastructure here which we have seen: technology and real estate. And we saw that these two have to come together, because our workplace will become, from being a place where people used to travel every day to work, to becoming more a hub where employees can collaborate and meet for socializing purposes once in a while, depending upon the kind of role or function that they do. Some employees may still continue to come to office daily. And the other thing we realized that the entire boundary of infrastructure has expanded. It has expanded from all within our company premises to all the remote locations from wherever our team members are working. And simple things like whether they have the right internet connection, whether they have the right kind of power backup whenever it is needed, has to be looked at. And that required us to revamp and redesign our real estate. That required us to revamp and redesign our technology tools. And this is an ongoing journey. I think we are still learning. I don't think we are yet there, but I think this is the journey that we have taken so far. I thought I'll just share my perspective from what I have. I'm living it day in and day out. As I'm talking to you, I'm working from home today. Very soon I'll start going to my office, because we are working on redesigning our office for this new hybrid environment. And I think we'll continue to evolve and learn. So with those thoughts, maybe Rekha, what I can do, I can request you to share your perspective. I know you're also living it day in and day out with your organization. And we have had quite a bit of conversation around this topic. In fact, the word paradox that we chose from Satya Nadella, he speaks very passionately about it. I think this is something that the idea was originated by him. I was part of the initial talk that he gave around this paradox concept, and I was very attracted to whatever thought processes he had. So maybe Rekha, I'll request you, and then maybe I'll also ask Hemant to chime in. So with that, Rekha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jay. And that's a good segue into why is this a hybrid paradox, right? In fact, when we did our own employee survey, the numbers were very similar, Jay. 73% of the workers, they wanted to have flexible remote work options to continue.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 67% of the workforce also wanted to have more in-person time. It's they want this and they want that, benefits of both having in person as well as having the flexibility of working, right? So that was the hybrid paradox. And also 80% of our managers, they were asking that we need more flexible work arrangement post pandemic, and this is across, right? And in fact, when China was one of our first areas to come out of the pandemic, and when we looked at the data that was coming from our GCR subsidiary, it was very clear that most of the employees, they were not coming to office for more than 3 days a week. So that's something that we have also learning from what's happening around the world. So hybrid here today, I think, as much as we move to the virtual world, it's here to stay for longer. And in fact, it's also called, we're also as an organization, we're reshuffling our own processes, our own, the point that you made around the infrastructure and all, to see how we can adapt, right? The question is simply, do we just sit and watch, or do we play an active role in terms of shaping the future? Yeah. In fact, I was looking at a CNBC article the other day where there is the great, a lot of employees, in fact, resigning because they don't want to go back and to work. In the US, we are seeing this trend. More and more employees are demanding that flexible work arrangements. So that's something that we need to be cognizant as leaders. How do we, we need to ask ourselves a lot of questions, what can be done remotely? How do we bring back people to workforce safely? And are there certain systems and processes where we need to create that all the way from IT to HR to, operations to sales, where we need to digitize? Yeah. And at Microsoft, what we have done is we have approached it in 3 different dimensions. One, the people. The second one is place. Third one is processes. When we looked at people, this is mostly centered around culture. What's the culture we want to create in the organization? We have come up with this new hybrid work policy where we said hybrid, we are going to enable extreme flexibility to our employees, and flexibility in 3 dimensions. One is work site, work location, and work hours. Work site, whether you work from home or work from office. Work site, work location. Are you working out of your base location, or are you do you want to work out of a location outside of base location? Some people, like you said, Jay, they actually move to remote locations. Yeah. How are we enabling them? Are there certain functions where we can give that flexibility? And then work hours, expecting that employees will continue to work from 9 to 6. Like in the pre-pandemic world, this expectation has changed today. They want more flexibility. So these are the 3 dimensions of flexibility we have created. And in fact, while there is a global policy, every individual probably group has their own nuances. So what we said is individual BUs, because what works in engineering group in Microsoft may not work for sales, because the sellers may not cannot say I'm going to work out of X location when they are supposed to go meet with customers and partners in a different location, right? It may work for engineering groups. So every business unit, while there are global parameters that are established, we've also given the flexibility for individual business unit to create that amount of guidelines, and every team to have that, the norms they are going to have within the team. And then, so that everybody in the team is also aware of if this person wants that flexibility in terms of hours, or these 3 days this person is available in office. So those kind of team templates, team agreements for them to have that kind of, create that hybrid work culture. So that's one thing that we have done. The second thing we have also done from a people perspective is also how we are creating the digital competence. One around employee experience. For example, you mentioned onboarding employees. We have onboarded several 25,000 new employees in the last 18 months. When we onboarded these new employees, we're also, as you know, we're using our own internal technology, Microsoft Viva, to create this new employee experience cloud to get that holistic experience for employees. And at the same time, also helping managers and organizations to derive insights around workplace analytics. We realized through the workplace analytics that people are burning out. There is almost digital exhaustion because they're in back-to-back meetings. And that insight helped us create, an outlook. If you see, today you can set up meetings for less than 30 minutes or less than an hour. It's can be automatically enabled either at an individual level or at an organization level. Even that 5-minute break can help employees not be digitally exhausted. So that's the second thing that we have done, learning from our own experiences and how we are adapting to the new culture. So that's on the people thing. On the place today is no longer physical place. It's both the digital as well as, physical space. And, when everybody is in remote work and environment, it's easy, right? Hybrid is complex because you have a set of people going back to work, physically present in office. Then there is a certain set of people who still want to continue to work from remotely. How are we creating that experience where they are feeling included along with people who are in office? Are we creating, almost thinking, in fact, yesterday we had our own team meeting to understand what are the norms we want to create. We discussed, there's probably a need for an inclusion champ in all hybrid meetings so that they are able to create that inclusivity for people who are joining remotely. We also have enabled features, today in Teams and in other software as well, where people can raise their hand so that they can share their own things, leveraging technology as well as we create that space. Then the last one in terms of processes, what we have been doing is digitizing everything, that we, all of us, I'm pretty sure every one of your organization has been doing in the last couple of months, digitizing all the things and also moving to the cloud. That's one part of the thing. Second thing is also when you have people working from different locations, mandating almost zero trust and zero security, because today our exposures that we have in the organizations are very different. So how are we, when we continue to operate in this hybrid work, how are we mandating this zero trust environment, right? In fact, we have got at the beginning of this, in July, August, mails from our IT department saying you are not going to have anything stored in your laptop. Move all your files to your, to the cloud. This is almost mandating us to move to the cloud so that, we're creating that security in this hybrid work environment. So those are few things that we have been doing as an organization, as we know that this is here to stay and we need to create that culture and flexibility to our employees. With that, I will hand it over to you.
Yeah, very similar experiences, Rekha, and I think you touched upon a very, very important aspect of the entire cybersecurity around this technology landscape, right? And to my point, now we have certainly see that our entire infrastructure has expanded beyond our limited office space to anywhere in the world. And with that comes the bigger threat and bigger need of the entire cybersecurity mechanism. So Rekha, one follow-up question. Were you able to get some early reaction from some of your team members? How do they feel about this new thing that we are trying to do from a model perspective? I know it is still early in the game. Did you get any early feeler, any early feedback? Would be interested to know.
Sorry, Jay, is that specifically more on the hybrid or?
On the hybrid environment, so I think you, like
Yeah.
HPE, I know Microsoft also has announced, right, that we are going to
Yes.
live in a hybrid world forever, whether pandemic or no pandemic. Did you get any early feedback from your employer? You have a
So
large
I'll tell you what
workforce across the
happened.
globe. Yeah.
So in the US, we were actually supposed to go, when Microsoft moved into the virtual world, we were going by the dial. We have a dial that moves forward or moves backward, right? The dial had 6 stages. Stage 2 is like, don't come to office. Stage 3, limited essential workers coming to office. Stage 4, we had a little bit more flexibility, 25% of people coming to office. 5 is, 50%. We're inviting our customers and partners also to come to offices. Stage 6 is like business as usual. In the US, we were supposed to go to stage 6 starting October. And then we realized when we did this employee survey that, not everybody is ready to go back to office.
Yeah.
And we've also seen some of the pandemic, the implications of different waves, the cases started picking up. So US, they said, hey, we're not going to define a date. This is what we have in place. And, we're creating that flexibility. And it's that is how they are approaching in the US. In India, where our tentative date of going to stage 6 is going to be starting in Jan. We wanted to see how we go through the different festive celebrations and to see if there's a wave 3 that is going to pick up. But that's where we are, Jay. It's different in
very similar. We also have a very similar approach. Rekha, thank you for those great insights. So Hemant, coming to you, me and Rekha, we come from a technology industry, I think maybe very similar in landscape, overall ecosystem. Very keen to hear your perspective because your world is slightly different from our world. How do you think this entire thing is evolving in your part of the world?
Thanks, Jay. Unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, all roads are currently leading to Rome.
Yeah.
So all roads are currently leading to a tech-enabled world. And this is true across industries. So if I were to buttress this with some examples from my space, when the pandemic happened, we have terminals where work happens, physical work happens, be it a port or be it an inland terminal or a warehouse. And, during the lockdowns, we were struggling with people. So how to keep those places running? Now, those, as of now, we still don't have an answer to. So maybe in the future, we'll have robots doing it, but as of now, we don't have an answer. So that is one set of people, okay, where I will mandatorily need those people. I mean, could I be more efficient? The answer is yes. But can I do away with them? The answer is no. Second set was the back office, pretty much like yours and Rekha's, where, you need not be physically present, but yet work can happen. So what we realized was that, productivity during this tenure increased dramatically, both for people present at the workplace and for people working remotely. Now, what did that mean? That meant clearly that if you have reached a level of productivity, we have to sustain it. So we started working and on this flexible or hybrid, or the various names you can give it. But what it did help us to do is we started to look at what do the people want? Like Rekha said, they did a survey. So we, I was reading somewhere 83% of the people globally want a hybrid place, and they would want flexibility to work, which is between 25 to 75%. in terms of remote working. Now, the problem was that was the expectation. Reality was how much could they take in terms of a tech environment, you know. So, and the tech environment just doesn't start and end with us. It encompasses our vendors, it encompasses our customers. Because if I don't have that connection also, my whole ecosystem is going to fail. So we had to go and start even talking to vendors, you know, and most vendors are not bound to give me a digital invoice. Now, if I have to get my SSC to work remotely, I don't need a physical invoice. I mean, I can't handle a physical invoice. I would need a digital invoice. Now, the story is that even the law says unless it's digitally signed, you need a physical copy. So even if I were to process the invoices on a scan basis, it was not going to help because I still needed those physical invoices. So the only alternate was to start talking to vendors and convince them to bring in digital invoices. Now, when you're having people who are not mandatorily required by law, that's a tall order. But then that's the journey we have started on. And as both you and Rekha pointed out, that's the journey. And I think Nirvana to reach that stage in a hybrid mode of working is a long way off. Because as I alluded, these vendors, for customers also, they have to come or they have to send the people to pick up their boxes. Now, that some pieces we can enable. So we have already worked on a platform where customers can digitally book and pay for their orders. So, but there is that physical movement which will happen. So there are some pieces which will continue to happen, which will ensure people are there. But I'm also trying as much as practically possible to ensure that the customers also have this experience as a where they can do it digitally rather than coming to my premises and doing it. The third part was that if I were to look at my own people, now are they geared to do that? Now, can they handle a digital invoice? Can they handle processes? So we reworked on all our processes, and we went by process and tweaked it for remote working, because otherwise we would have fallen flat. The other thing that we had to handle was talent, because not all people were comfortable in handling those processes. There was something which we had to do for in some people. We said, okay, let's do some skill upgradation. The other piece that we somehow also managed to do was to do some connect with people, because in this remote working, one thing which we realized is people still want some sort of a connection. Otherwise that bonding within the team is going to, and I'm not just talking of finance, I'm saying team as in the organization team, will fall flat. So we went and made those connections wherever it was, we thought it was necessary, or wherever we got an opportunity to do so. So we upped the employee experience, we upped the customer experience, we looked at talent, we looked at skills. And in the last 18 months, I don't think we have hired anyone, and we have done a lot of hiring, by the way. But we have not hired anyone physically. I mean, they're all, virtually hired. And so it's become now a part of SOP. Now, initially there was a lot of resistance. How can I judge a person? If you're looking at a senior person, how can I judge a person without a physical interaction? Now that didn't, and today we kind of just open a app from Rekha's organization, and we send them the link or her the link and say, okay, log on, switch on a video and let's have a chat. So I think this is a journey. We are still on it. And as Rekha said, there are a lot of people. And I mean, the more I speak to people, the more I realize, and this is within my organization, people have just migrated, to tier 2 and in some cases tier 3 cities. Tier 3. And the good news is they're still available for calls, and off late, initially in the first 6 months of the pandemic, we saw, bandwidth issues, "Aapko meri awaaz aa rahi hai?" types. But in the last 6 to 9 months, that problem has reduced dramatically. So that's one enabler that has, and I think those people are very, very reluctant to come back, because a lot of people are now with families, the extended families, and they're happy there as long as it works for them. And so that was one thing. So then we said, okay, for the people who are the within back office people, then who are not necessarily to be in office every day, can we then do a split? One set who may not need to come to office ever. So they'll be remote 100%. And then there are some set of people who would, 1 day, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, depending on your work and, at what you're doing. So we started doing that, and we're still on that journey. And so all in all, I think it's all about people, processes, getting your arms around what the people want, upgrading them, which is what we have tried to do. Work on your processes, which is again what we have done. And I think it's a beautiful journey that we have embarked upon. The end is not in sight, but I'm on a journey nonetheless.
Hey,
So,
thank you so much, Hemant. That's great perspective, and I totally agree with you. This is still a journey. We don't know how much more are we going to travel on this before we change the track. So many thanks for your perspective there. So with those perspective, I think time is ripe, Sushant, to go to some of the work that you and your team have done, which is more broad in nature. Now we're just running a little bit short of time. So if you could take 15 minutes and maybe touch upon some of the high level aspect of that broader perspective that you all have researched, and would be good to share with the group. And maybe I'm hoping that we'll keep some time for questions. In the meantime, if you have got any questions, team, you can also type in the chat. Maybe we'll do some real-time interaction there as Sushant wanted to share his perspective. So with that, over to you, Sushant. Once again, thanks to you and your team for putting this entire thing together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this prestigious forum. It's not every day that you share the stage with industry stalwarts and get to hear their views firsthand. So really grateful for that. I've been listening into the views from yourself, Rekha, and Hemant, and I would say this is very similar to what we have been hearing in wider industry as well. So some of the themes definitely resonate. What we would do is maybe walk you through our point of view, and as you said, Jai, maybe more of a broader point of view, and there are a lot of details on that that we can share subsequently on the themes playing out in this space, which are enabling the entire ecosystem. So if I'll just take a minute and share my screen here.
Yes, Sushant, we lost you in between. Now you're back. Good, thank you.
Am I back? Okay.
Yes, I can see your screen also.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, thank you. So I'll just get started. While we talk a lot about hybrid working, we spoke about the impact of COVID and so on and so forth. I would say while the change is here, but the storm has been brewing for quite some time. So there are a lot of mega trends which have been impacting the future of work anyways, even if we were in COVID or not in COVID situation. So let me give a sort of broader view starting from there, and we'll come to what it means for the future of work. The first theme is around the world, what we see is we are moving towards a connected ecosystem. So everything from your devices to your equipment to your wearables, everything is now connected in a very seamless information flow. So the corollary of that is the business models or interactions, which are originally based on information exchange and analysis, now could be put on to digital platforms. You don't need people to be there in person. The second theme is around personalization, and that you have seen work out in many industries, especially in B2C or B2B2C industries, where there's a hyper customization, hyper personalization in terms of product and service offerings to the customers and also to employees. So you don't manage your employees, all of them in the same way. You are trying to customize the experience that they get, right? Similarly, from a bundling of product and services and so on and so forth. All of this changes have been amplifying each other. So because it is connected ecosystem, you are able to offer more personalization. Because it is hyper personalization, you are looking at developing new propositions and now getting into a fail fast mindset in terms of organization. So all these have been amplifying the impact of each other. And even before COVID, there was a view that we will get into delinking of the physical place of work to the actual work delivery. What COVID has done is possibly cut short that entire journey from what was expected to happen over 4 years, 5 years to possibly just 1.5 years. And we are seeing that impact significantly play out in all our work spheres. When we talk about hybrid ways of working, of course, people talk about pretty much the traditional, which is saying, okay, you have a head office or you have your office, you have people coming on to the work and they get managed, allocated then and there. The other extreme, of course, is 100% virtual. We are saying we don't even have a head office. In fact, we were in touch with a startup recently. They don't even have a head office. They have a registered office, but the founders, they meet once in 2 months at some place of their choosing. Now, this could be Delhi today, could be Bangalore tomorrow, could be Goa the day after, the month after. They're saying, why do we need that? We just hire space and we get there and get cracking. So between these two extremes, there is a variety of choices that exist. So that was a point I wanted to sort of bring out, saying, let's not look at the future of work only as a duopoly, saying we only have traditional model, we only have a work from home model. I wanted to highlight there are multitude of choices that you have on that spectrum. So you could have pop-up offices, you could have mixed offices, you could have professional setups. So there are multiple setups that you could create. And therefore, these multiple tiers in which the work gets delivered can be matched to what the employee has to ask. You started the conversation today saying there is a bit of dichotomy, right? Because people want to don't come to work, but at the same time they want the experience and engagement which they correlate with coming to office. I think that kind of disconnect or can be solved if you start looking at the expectations of the employees being at various levels, multiple grades of requirements, and the solution also being multi-grade. Then instead of trying to force fit multiple hues of their requirements onto 2 levels or 3 levels of work delivery, we can sort of align them to appropriate tiers and also change the tiers as you go along. We spoke a lot about various enablers on hybrid work today, and hybrid work or future of work itself is a fairly vast topic. And it covers themes around future state business models, this future state operating model, talent sourcing model, the right mix between human workers and, let's say, bots and digital workers, and so on and so forth. And also not just the white collar workers. What about the blue collar workers? So there's a variety of questions to be solved there. But considering the time today, what we thought is we'll focus on 6 themes which are enabling this future of work to play out. And I come from digital and technology background, so maybe that's something that we wanted to really bring out in the call today. So the first one is on virtual delivery. In fact, what we call in KPMG as cloudified delivery. What does it mean? It means that the way, for example, if you were to host your solution on the cloud and you don't know where that is, but end of the day that works. Similarly, in the future, you will have virtual delivery or cloudified delivery take center stage in organizations. So the work itself will be hived off into various packages, and that could be delivered by your network of workers spread all across the world, enabled through technology. So that's first. Second is the rise of platforms. What is happening is that when you are in office, you're working on some things which are on technology systems and platforms, but there is a fair degree of social interaction. So think about, for example, the brainstorm sessions that people had. Now, what is happening is that in response to this need from the market, there is a rise of platforms filling in that need. So many of you on this call today, their organizations are actually the innovators in this field, and they have been coming out with platforms. So I wouldn't name any, but it suffices to say that the platform maturity which was there earlier to what it is now, it's significantly different. So they can now act as secure single hubs for teamwork and in a much wider fashion than what was possible before. The third theme I wanted to bring onto the table is around digital architecture. If your service delivery is cloudified, then to enable that, your entire digital fabric also has to be cloudified, in the sense that it will be a mesh of microservices. It will be a mesh of platforms interacting with each other and still creating the economic value that you associate with the enterprise, right? So in that sense, the entire flavor of digital architecture of the future will be quite different, which will power our movement towards future of work. The fourth theme is around secure collaboration. So while collaboration is welcome, the more you expand the envelope around where the work gets delivered, larger is the tapestry that you have to defend, right? From hackers, from cybersecurity attacks, and so on and so forth. So how do you bring security into the entire mix? And that's the innovation that we have been seeing in the last couple of years, and fairly strong gains have been made, especially in the last 1 year, to ensure secure collaboration. The other theme I would like to bring out is that organizations have realized that, especially when in context of future of work, not all ideation, not all brainstorming, not all innovation will happen within the four walls of the organization. So we have to look at open innovation. We have to do innovation along with our extended ecosystem. And that is now taking shape fairly well. So we see hackathons, we are seeing campaigns, we are looking at joint collaborations, joint innovation funds coming across, which are actually a fairly positive development. Earlier, because we had that view around an organization as a hard boundary and the way the work is delivered, even the innovation now I would say things are much more open. People are comfortable working in virtualized hybrid teams, cross-sector, cross-geo, cross-organization teams to innovate together, which can create value for the end customer. And finally, to do all of that, this is still easy. The most difficult part is changing the perspective of people, right? The culture shift. It's easy to change the carbon and the siliconware, but not the carbonware, right? So people change is the hardest. The mindset change is the hardest, and that's where organizations are spending a lot of time on. So those were the 6 themes, Jai, that I was hoping to cover. Let me just pause here, do a quick time check. Should we take any questions, or do you want me to quickly cover any specific theme in detail?
So maybe I'm thinking,
I would request there are some other board members here, Jay, so
Yeah.
we can request them to ask questions.
Yes, I was about to say that. So maybe Sushant, I'm thinking maybe we hear some perspective. Shyam has already dropped a note on the chat, and Shyam, totally agree with your perspective. We are in the process of converting this into a work paper, and one of the thought process today was to get some more feedback from the group here. So if all of you could.
Our board members are here, Amit and Jatin and Prashant.
Jatin, Amit, if you could share your perspective, that will be highly valuable. We will then ensure that we also incorporate that into further.
Gopal Madhavan is well with us, so may I request you to. Amit, would you like to go first or Gopal?
Hey, Pranjal, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Amit.
So I don't know whether you can see me or not, but I think two things. I think Hemant talked about. I think he touched the right chord in terms of productivity. When when the lockdown happened and everybody was home, what we realized is our productivity also went up almost like 2x because everybody was home. People were saving on time, money in terms of the effort that was required to come to a workplace. Probably, I think one thing open to comments is what we've seen right now is that, that productivity is seen a significant dip because while there is initial hesitation of everybody to come back to work, the productivity has taken a dip because, the entire workforce is doing everything going out, going to parties, going the restaurants are open, people are taking vacations. And that has made it a little tough in terms of coordinating the efforts, which was significantly easier when everybody was in a lockdown situation. So I think I know one situation is not going to fit all, but especially for companies like our size, which is always in a hustling mode. What are your thoughts in terms of do you go extreme left, do you go extreme right? Where do you find that right balance? Is I think something that we are also trying to find right now. Open to listening comments on thoughts from some of the other leaders.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. I think very valid perspective. So I would be very keen to hear maybe Jatin, Gopal, Prashant, if you have got, or Akshay, if you have got any further perspective to share, it will be very valuable to us.
Okay, I'm Gopal here. Hi, thanks for the opportunity. I think a great session on a very pertinent topic. I think all speakers, had actually valuable insights to offer, and it set me thinking. For example, Rekha's point on remote champions, I think, is very important because I find that people who are remote feel a little disadvantaged when they are joining. In fact, when I join into a call and I'm at home or some other place and we see physical people in the office, you do feel a little, off. And I think, especially for the middle and the lower middle cadres, if you have a champion saying this is what it is and they are able to keep them engaged on these calls, it becomes very important. A very important takeaway for me from there. I think Hemant and Jay as well and Sushant's presentations were good. I had a couple of questions actually, though, and this was something akin to what the earlier speaker had mentioned. One, I find that there are two kinds of teams. One, team members. One who want to return to office, are frenetic about it, and are really kind of encouraged by it. The second is a set of people who say, actually, I'm getting the work done more efficiently at home. I'm able to manage my work-life balance, and also getting a little concerned about the health factor of coming back to office. So one question that I had, possibly to Rekha and maybe to Hemant as well, is how do you tackle these emotions? Because it's important to ensure, and this is a health factor, right? If somebody says, no, I'm actually able to do this at home, and if need be, I'll come on a need basis to office. This is one. The second one was, how do we keep the teams motivated? I am personally looking at setting up some meetings, some virtual meetings. But when you do it on a virtual meeting, I find that it's very two-dimensional, doesn't help. So I have started having coffee sessions with our guys here whenever I come to office to ensure that we chat up and we don't discuss or review. Two questions to the panelists, from my side, and thank you very much for this session.
Thank you, Gopal. Very relevant question. So maybe Rekha or Hemant, would you want to?
Yeah. So,
can we take Prashant's question and then we could respond, because I'm conscious of the time.
Yes, sure.
Hi, everybody. As mentioned by Gopal, really insightful session. One of the things which I wanted to share with the group is, technology changed everything. And for us also, we finished an acquisition without a single meeting. So that was very interesting journey for us, and big learning as to how things can be much more efficient when there is no requirement of physical meetings, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a great learning for us. And questions are very similar, in terms of when we did our survey. One of the most important point was people are very reluctant. At least 30% of the people said that they were wanting the flexibility to work from the remote locations where they are located right now. They're not really in the Mumbais and Bangalores of the world. So I think for us, that was one major population which we want to address. And second, in terms of regulations also, because we operate in SEZ, and currently SEZ does allow work from home. But on a go-forward basis, regulations are also going to play an important factor in terms of whether the government will be open to this idea from a long-term perspective. I think those were the only two things which I wanted to say on the forum.
Sure. Any other questions, inputs? We have got one in the chat also. I'll read that also out from Brij Mohan. Appreciate if you could allude on the impact of skill set gap that will be created because of lack of collaborative learning. I think I know Hemant, you touched upon, Hemant and Rekha, you touched upon it a bit, and even Sushant. So maybe now, Pranjal, can we start? Maybe we only have got
Sure.
minutes.
I know we can extend for a few minutes, Jay, because there is high interest. So I'll maybe request Rekha, Hemant, and Sushant to give intervention. Then they can combine the views from the questions and views gathered.
Yeah, so I think just to see the theme, Rekha, Hemant, and Sushant, that I'm seeing from what Amit spoke and Gopal and Prashant spoke is, I think, two-folded, right? Amit's feedback was more around how do we really balance the product, how do we sustain that enhanced productivity, Hemant, to your point, and then also this entire concept of how do we really motivate people in a virtual environment. Gopal pointed a very, very relevant challenge that all of us are facing as of today, and then how do we really in the end take care of the overall well-being of the employees. And to Prashant's point, still 30% of the people who wanted to continue to work from very, very far off remote places. So I think it is that massive balancing act that we may have to do. And to Hemant's point, we are still in a journey, right? I think would be very keen to hear your perspective on that. So maybe Hemant, I can start, and then Rekha.
Thanks, Jay. So for me, how I would say it is that if someone is wanting to work from home permanently, and he is not part of the necessary trudge, doesn't need to necessarily trudge every day to office because he's part of that necessary group that needs to come, I would just kind of say, okay, let's get on with him. Let him work remotely. And if he's a talent you would want to keep, my answer would be yes, let him work. On the other piece, so there are three aspects. How I would break up the thing, it would be into three parts. One, long term, one medium term, and one short term. So anyways, we used to have outings and, either functional or group get-togethers once in a while. So that would fall under the long term, and I think that would need to continue. The medium term would be your coffees or your appraisal sessions. That I think, as long as you're having it honest and, you could either, for the appraisals, you could do it virtually, and for the coffee sessions, once in a while, whenever you kind of meet up with the person, you could do that. And in the short term, I think what I have done, and I'm sharing that with you, is I've had more such skip levels and town halls with both my DRs and outside my function DRs to keep them engaged, because sometimes when you even talk and hear people, that helps. And it's, for me, as far as I'm from my experience, it has worked for me. I've really had a spike in my engagement levels of my team and my extended team and beyond. So that's how I would answer to those two broad points that you mentioned, Jay.
Thank you, Hemant. Totally agree with you. So maybe Rekha, very keen to hear your
Just add
perspective.
a few points. Amit, you mentioned about productivity. We have seen while in the initial stages, productivity has increased a lot. There's also, it has come at the cost of a few things, right? We have seen companies which have come out and said, hey, it has impacted innovation, because innovation can only happen when people are have their ideas. But then, there are also certain things that we are starting to do differently to enable that in the virtual world as well, right? That's point number one. Second thing, I think we all have to realize that as we went through the pandemic, these connections and social connections and the network that we have been relying on, whether it is with our own employees, our customers, or partners, or our other stakeholders that we are working on, we have been riding on the network that we have built in the past couple of years, right? And each of you might have mentioned there's probably 25% churn or 20% of new employees who joined. They probably don't have this network as they came into the organization. So for them, that engagement, employee engagement, becomes super crucial. So is that going to be on a day-to-day basis, or if we are in this hybrid work environment, maybe it's a couple of days during the week that, these are the days, a team meeting, we want whomever is able to join to come physically. This is what we have been trying to do, right? All the senior leadership team meetings, to the extent possible, go and meet. We have done a managers day where we have said, guys, we're going to see if people can go meet there physically. So picking those things so that slowly we are ramping up the physical presence. So the network and all, as we go into the future, it becomes super important.
Thank you, Rekha. I think very valid. Sushant, anything that you would like to add? And then I'll just touch
I
upon.
think Gopal had a question for Rekha. Gopal, do you want to repeat that?
No, I just had only, I think she answered it, and this was a good point, Rekha, that you mentioned about the new employees. That's another struggle we're having, because many of them don't, they don't get introduced to the team at all. Yeah. In fact, I just saw 2 new legal guys that I had hired 3 months ago, and they were all working from home. And first time we actually met them and we kind of got ourselves introduced. No, one thing that I had, I think, which was answered was, on the motivation of teams. I mean, do we actually ask a physical meeting to come in? Because now it's becoming quite challenging. Many of them are, they have to manage. The working from home has had its challenges also, and it has had a flexibility. When you're at home, there is a pressure from the home front as well, because many of them live in very small houses and they don't have a dedicated office room. And it becomes difficult. They have somehow managed to kind of straddle both the horses. So when they come back, many of them say, I mean, can I kind of work from home? And then you have other team members who are saying, I am at office all 5 days a week, and whereas the counterpart doesn't. So Rekha, how are you tackling these challenges? These are very, it's a learning for all of us when leaders like you actually share your experiences.
Gopal, very valid question. Like I said, it's hyper flexibility that we are giving to our employees, right? Because every needs are different, and it also goes back to the point that Hemant mentioned. It depends on individual choices, and we're also enabling the managers on the ground to have these conversations. Because at the end of the day, manager needs to work with a lot of empathy and care for us to make sure that we are able to retain the right set of talent, make sure that we are creating an inclusive work culture, in whatever manner, right? So that's why, we can't mandate one shoe fits all for everyone. And which is why this whole concept of hybrid, there will be people who want to continue to work from home, There will be people who may want to be in office every single day. So enabling that inclusivity in remote work things become super important, Gopal.
Agreed. Thanks, Rekha.
Right.
Thank you, Rekha, and thanks, Gopal, for those insightful questions. Yeah, Sushant, anything that you would like to add? And then I'll touch upon Prashant's question around regulation. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of valid points have been made. Just going to add that yes, you're talking about your team, we need to stop looking at them as one cohort. It is no longer one cohort because your preferences are different. So therefore, there would be need to look at your job roles in terms of what are the working modes which are more appropriate for those job roles. On the other dimension, actually, looking at the team very, very sharply. There are people, in fact, on our team, now that they have been on the plane twice in a week, they are super excited because they think this is what I was missing. And there are others who are sort of coming back and saying, I live in a family, I am coming back and I'm bringing back, possibly something. So I think it's about people differences, it's about their personality types, as was being mentioned. So we need to look at that cohort slightly closely, break it up in terms of their individual preferences and also in terms of the job roles and what do these job roles demand, and then map out these team members to the job roles and see there will be different cohorts or sub cohorts which will be relevant for particular job roles. So that's point number one. Point number two is from location, and then the other elephant in the room, which is around the entire career progression and growth and so many other elements. They need to be tackled upfront, especially for roles which are managerial roles, mid-senior roles, and of course senior roles. It is not just about yourself. It's also about how you're managing a wider team and how you're making them productive. For the roles which are interfacing with the external stakeholders, how do you engage with them? So I think the answer to that is a matrix. Answer is not a point solutions. That's a theme that I wanted to add. Just before I hand back to Jay, the second theme is around the motivation. And I know that entire productivity curve, as soon as the work from home started, the productivity curve went through the roof. And then it came down because eventually there is a fatigue in operating in that kind of environment, as was being mentioned by Gopal. There's a work pressure from home and a pressure from work and so on and so forth. So there's a sort of a fatigue which also drives some of that. What I do expect is that over time, this will sort of come back up and settle down. Now, whether that settles down at a productivity quotient which is similar to pre-pandemic, above the previous levels or below the previous levels, that depends on those individual cohorts as well as the roles that we have for them. And that is something that we will need to watch out carefully and take corrective action.
Okay, thank you so much, Sushant. Very, very pertinent, relevant, and great input. So, Prashant, to your point on regulation, we are also in the same boat. We are a company depend a lot on government's rules around, because we are all operating out of STPI and SEZ zones. And right now there is a little bit of a relaxation that government has provided. We are also trying to go through our respective governmental bodies. We are also very strongly tied up with NASSCOM. In fact, the country MD for HP in India sits in NASSCOM board. And we are trying to pitch in because most of the technology companies will want to go the hybrid way in future. And somehow we got to have government support us. Otherwise, we will have massive impact from a customs and excise duties perspective. There is no ready answer at this point of time, Prashant, but I know most of the technology companies are trying to come together, create some kind of a forum and bring in our perspective to the government, and hoping that government will come up with the right solution to this perspective and demands. I know.
Jay, if I can just add, the inputs that we are collecting from this conversation would be in the report that the group of the CFO board, which includes you, Hemant, Rekha, and Sushant, would be working. So I think on your behalf, I'll request all panelists and speakers and everybody here also send in your thoughts to us, and that will form the final paper that Jay is working on.
That will be a great help, team. I think we are over time now. So great session. Thank you so much, Rekha, Hemant, and Sushant, for great inputs. And thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your great and valuable feedback. We'll further work on this topic, and another month or so, we are planning to complete our work paper. and we will then publish it to you all also for your read and reference. Thank you so much for your time today.
And the feedback can be sent to our email at secretariat@CFO board or directly to Jay as you wish. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.